Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Anupama, Professor at Department of Economics, Punjabi University, Patiala. I am going to talk about module Demographic Component of Urbanization and Gender from Population, Urbanization and Poverty. So students, we are going to discuss about the gender differences in different age groups of population, life expectancy, mortality rates, attainment of education, migration, and employment. In the history of mankind, the current rate of population growth has been a unique phenomenon, unseen until the second half of the 20th century. The human population has grown very slowly throughout history, and the first billion people mark was only reached at the beginning of the 19th century, that is around 1804. The growth rate increased slightly and remained at about 0.5% during the 19th century, reaching 2 billion in 1927. This second billion was accumulated in 127 years. Since then, the population has grown by 5 billion more people, 1 billion in just over 11 years, from 1987 to 1999. Another billion within just the following 12 years, when the world population reached 7 billion inhabitants around October 31 of 2011. The highest overall growth rate, that is 2.07%, occurred between 1965 and 1970. The current growth rate is 1.1% and is projected at 0.4% for 2050. So in this slide, this module aims to throw light on growth of population by sex, age composition of population by sex, fertility rates in urban areas, life expectancy and urbanization, death rates and infant mortality rates among males and females in rural and urban areas, educational attainments by sex in rural and urban areas, rural-urban migration and gender and urban work. Important feature of this growth in population is that it is now increasingly taking place in the urban areas, especially that of the developing countries. Estimates suggest that 90 million more people will be living in cities and 4 million fewer people in rural areas by 2025. While the speed and location of growth of population changes, the demographic structure will necessarily change. Urbanization is often associated with gender-related transformations such as decline in fertility rates, changes in sex ratio, literacy levels, and labor force participation rates. In this perspective, present module would throw light on impact of urbanization on demographic composition of population. Now let us look at population growth of males as well as females. An important component of population growth is age-specific composition of male and female population, as it would determine the future growth of population as well as the sex ratios along with the age composition in coming time period. A simple framework of age composition of population and its impact on population growth is shown in figure 1. The figure shows that if the distribution of population is dominated by the younger age group and children, the population in future time period would be growing fastly, as this age group would reach the reproductive age. On the other hand, relatively lower proportion of children vis-a-vis 40 plus age group today means a shrinking population in future. While if the proportion of working age group and that of the children is nearly the same, the population would grow at a constant rate. Using this framework of population growth, we can analyze the growth of world population in the past time period and future. The sex and age composition of world population has been shown in figure 2. The figure shows that both for males and females, the age group 0 to 14 years is losing its share in total population continuously. This has led to a growing world population in shrinking population. However, in 2050 and in later years, we can expect a constant growth of population in which the share of child population as well as working age population is almost the same. The world population pyramids in figure 2 show almost similar changes for the growth of male and female population of the world. However, there may be many regional variations in the age and sex composition of population. These differences are visible in sex ratios of different countries. Ideally, the urban areas should be less discriminatory against the women as far as sex ratio is concerned. But these differences again differ according to the income levels. For example, in developed economies such as USA and Canada, we can find near equality in under 5 sex ratio. While in developing economies, except in China, we can observe lower sex ratios in urban areas than the rural ones. Thus, an adverse child sex ratio in developed economies further deteriorates in urban areas. Let us discuss about fertility rates in urban areas. Growth of population in urban areas depends upon two factors: the rural-urban migration and the natural increase. In most of the economies, the natural increase of urban population is as important as the urbanization of rural population. The natural increase in population is defined as the difference between the number of live births and the number of deaths during the year. The natural increase is negative when the number of deaths exceeds the number of births. Thus, for population to grow in urban areas, the number of live births is very important indicator. However, urban fertility rates are nevertheless generally lower than in rural areas. This can be explained by a number of reasons. These reasons can be the higher cost, that is both monetary and the time cost for parents to bring up each individual child, the higher level of education or exposure to choice and different lifestyle models than in rural settings, including late marriage at an older age, especially for the woman, as compared to the rural areas, increased access to contraception, and greater engagement of women in wage employment. The fertility rates are also indicators of women's choice to conceive a child. Higher fertility rates often indicate that women have no voice in the decisions of the family size and even the sex of the newly born. Thus, apart from being an important determinant, the overall growth of urban population, lower fertility rates in urban areas show a greater power of women to decide about the family size than their rural counterparts. The number of live births in rural and urban areas of selected cities is shown in Figure 4. The figure shows that for all countries displayed in this figure show higher fertility rates in rural areas than urban ones. Australia is, of course, an exception in this regard. The total fertility rate, which is defined as number of children who would be born per woman if she lived to the end of her childbearing years and bore children at each age in accordance with prevailing age-specific fertility rates, also falls as urbanization increases. This can be observed from Figure 5, which displays the data for total fertility rates in different countries according to their level of income and urbanization rates. The figure shows that in less developed countries, the rate of urbanization is lower and the total fertility rates are higher. As the per capita income of various countries increase, we can easily observe an increase in rate of urbanization and a fall in total fertility rate. Life expectancy. Normally, women have higher life expectancy as compared to men, and this is true for both the rural and urban areas. There can be a number of reasons behind that. Some argue that the women bodies are biologically superior to men in enduring the ailments related with age factor and thus they live longer than men. Others say that women are less involved in hazardous occupations, conflicts, alcoholism, and violence related activities, and therefore they are likely to live longer. A higher life expectancy among women also justifies the higher sex ratio for all ages, even when the child sex ratio is lower for the females. Higher life expectancy of women vis-a-vis men can be observed from Figure 6. The interesting point that is put forward by the figure is that as the level of income and urbanization rates increase, the life expectancy for the woman also increases, and the difference in male and female life expectancy is 3 years for the low income and less urbanized economies, while it increases to 6 years in case of high income and more urbanized economies. Higher life expectancy among women is therefore due to lower death rates among women as an adult as well as infants. This fact can be observed from Figure 7. The figure shows that female death rates are lower than males in the selected economies. On the other hand, the mortality rates are lower in urban areas, with the exception of Egypt, than the rural ones. In the developed economies such as Netherlands and Australia, we can hardly find any rural-urban differences in death rates. We can observe from the figure that the male-female differences are higher, where there are greater rural-urban differences in death rates. If the rural-urban differences in mortality rates of the infants and the overall death rates are lower, the male-female differences of the same rates are also lower. Thus, location of the population largely depicts the gender differences in death rates of infants and adult people. Educational attainments. Education imparts skills and competencies that are central to human development and enhanced quality of life, bringing wide-ranging benefits to both individuals and societies. Investing in girls' and women's education, in particular, produces exceptionally high social and economic returns. Educated women invest more in their children and contribute to the welfare of the next generation. They are more likely to participate in the labor force, allowing them to earn an income, know and claim their rights and attain greater influence in the household and public life. Education is essential for empowering women and for closing the gap between women and men in respect of socio-economic opportunities. It can reduce inequalities based on gender and alter the historical legacy of disadvantage faced by women. Thus, education status of the woman not only improves the lives of the woman but also has dominoes effects upon rest of the economy. It is generally believed that the urban areas provide better educational facilities as compared to rural ones. Cities foster better human development by providing easier access to education both for the men and women. However, we can find the gender disparities in education in different regions where the girls from poor families in the urban areas are in as disadvantageous position as they would have been in rural areas. These differences can be easily gauged from gender differences in enrollment ratios and educational attainments. The MDG report of UN states that rural children are twice as likely to be out of school as children living in urban areas. The data also show that the rural-urban gap is slightly wider for girls than for boys. 31% of girls and 27% of boys in the rural areas are out of school. But in urban areas, these ratios are respectively 15% and 14%. Thus, in urban areas, not only the proportion of out-of-school children is lower than their rural counterparts, but we can also find fewer gender differences. But it is being felt that the biggest obstacle to education is poverty. Girls in the poorest 20% of the households have the least chance of getting an education. They are 3.5 times more likely to be out of school than girls in the richest households and 4 times more likely to be out of school as boys in the richest households. Boys from the richest households are the least likely to be out of school, and this percentage is 10% as compared to all other groups. The gender parity in education actually depends upon the enrollment ratios. As we have observed that in urban areas, the difference between out-of-school boys and girls is very low. However, the averages hide the within group variations. The conditions of urban poor are many times worse than their rural counterparts. Therefore, to look into these inequalities, here an attempt has been made to look into the male-female differences in primary enrollment ratios in rural and urban areas and living conditions. The poverty of the households has been gauged through their quality of shelter, assuming that in general the non-slum households have higher income than the slum households. The figure shows that the enrollment ratios for both males and females are higher in urban areas and in non-slum population as compared to rural and slum population in Asian cities. It can also be observed that the gender differences are much smaller in urban areas and in non-slum population as compared to rural and slum population. These are the figures for primary enrollment ratios only. In case of overall educational attainments, the UNICEF study shows that the range of unequal outcomes is much higher in urban areas than the rural ones. This study has shown this fact through a case of 4 countries, that is Benin, Pakistan, Tajikistan and Venezuela, out of which the case of Benin and Pakistan is displayed in figure 10. Children in urban areas generally enjoy better health and have more educational opportunities than their counterparts in rural areas. This effect is often referred to as the urban advantage. Nevertheless, the scale of inequality within urban areas is a matter of great concern. Gaps between rich and poor in towns and cities can sometimes equal or exceed those found in rural areas. When national averages are disaggregated, it becomes clear that many children living in urban poverty are clearly disadvantaged and excluded from higher education, health services, and other benefits enjoyed by their affluent peers. The figure 10, called equity trees, illustrate that while vast disparities exist in rural areas, poverty also can severely limit a child's education in urban areas. In some cases, more so than in a countryside. In Benin and Pakistan, the education gap between the richest 20% and the poorest 20% is greater in urban than in rural areas. The gap is widest in Benin than Pakistan for rural and urban inequalities. But when we observe the differences in educational attainments of the richest and the poorest, the gaps are much wider in Pakistan, where pupils from richest urban families have on average almost 8 years more schooling than those from the poorest ones. Compared with the gap of 6 years between the wealthy and poor in rural areas, girls growing up in poor households are at a great disadvantage regardless of whether they live in urban or rural areas. In Benin, girls in urban and rural areas who come from the poorest 20% of the population receive less than 2 years of schooling compared with 3 to 4 years for their male counterparts and about 9 years for the richest boys in urban and rural settings. In Pakistan, the difference in educational attainments between the poorest boys and girls is about 3 years in rural areas and about 1 year in urban areas. Rural urban migration and gender. Since migration from rural to urban areas is an important demographic component of urban populations, however, the disaggregated data on basis of sex of the migrant is hard to find. However, we can discuss a few general trends. For most of the women, the migration takes place along with the family, while men migrate mainly for employment reasons. The female migrate mainly due to marriage. The employment opportunities among the female migrants are further constrained as compared to the male migrants. Like men, the type of work in which the female migrants would be employed would depend upon their educational attainments. However, more of the women migrants are found in part-time temporary works. But this is also the general trend for women irrespective of their migration status. Therefore, the analyses which show the effect of migration on the sex ratio, life expectancy are difficult to find or are regional in coverage. Another important consequence of the migration by the adult men is that more of the households are now being headed by the woman. The headship of the households by the woman may also be due to death of the adult male. However, recently more of the households are being headed by the woman either due to women deciding to remain independent or due to temporary or permanent internal or international migration of the male adult. An increase in proportion of the female-headed households is now a worldwide phenomenon, equally found in developing as well as the developed regions. Gender and urban work. Currently, more women participate in paid employment than at any other time in history. Although, with differences between countries, urban women are more likely than rural women to rely on income generating activities. To a large extent, then, the feminization of the global labor force goes hand in hand with urbanization, as it reflects a number of interrelated factors. These include the internationalization of production and trade, reduced fertility rates, rising level of education, and changing aspirations, especially among young women, and the need for cash incomes due to rising cost of living associated with the privatization of basic services and cuts to public welfare services. But the women tend to concentrate in lower quality, more precarious forms of paid work. In part, this is because they need to reconcile paid work with their primary responsibility for unpaid domestic and care work within households. It is also, however, the consequence of the gender segmentation of labor markets, which prevents women from entering better paid and more protected work. Informal employment is particularly important in low income nations where it accounts for half to three-quarters of all non-agricultural employment. This share is 48% in Northern Africa, 51% in Latin America, 65% in Asia, and 72% in Sub-Saharan Africa. On average, over 60% of women workers in low-income nations are employed in the informal sector, while among men, this proportion varies between 48% in Latin America and 65% in Asia. In urban India, the self-employed constitute 45% of men and 48% of women workers. Of these, more than half of men and nearly two-thirds of women have very low earnings, in most states below the official minimum wages. In other words, while women are not the only informal sector workers, they are more likely than men to be employed informally and to earn less. The feminization of the labor force is linked to the informalization of labor markets. So students, let us summarize what we have learnt from this module. We have seen that the natural increase of population largely depends upon the life expectancy, birth rates, and death rates in which, although the women are biologically supposed to be on the better side, but the women from the poorer countries or sections of the same country are always placed in a disadvantageous position even in the urban areas. Similarly, in case of education and employment, the urban areas are considered to be better places for women as the education status and women's participation in economic activities is higher in urban areas as compared to their rural counterparts. But it is also being found that the urban inequalities are far greater than the rural inequalities. Therefore, the poor women have little access to education, health, and decent employment opportunities. All these facts point towards urgent policy attention so that the urban areas can be set as a role model for gender parity rather than gender disparity. This is also necessary for sustainable growth of the urban areas so that the distribution of the prosperity experienced during the process of rapid urbanization and globalization can be justifiably distributed. That's all with today's lecture. I hope you must have enjoyed it. Thank you.